Tonight, we're asking the question that should be haunting every boardroom and basement. If 12 million barrels of oil just vanished, why isn't it $200 a barrel? Good evening. I'm Rex Haymarket, and tonight we're stepping away from the frantic hum of the daily headlines. This is the 40-hour work week, a chance to look at the gears behind the grime, where we trade the ticker for the truth. The world lost 12 million barrels a day, not a ripple but a tsunami, or so we're told. Yet the price at the pump, while brutal, hasn't reached the end of civilization territory the math suggests. It's a gap between two different realities, one where the barrels are merely delayed, and one where they are dead. Let's find out which one you're living in. To understand the gap, you have to understand the geography of a choke point. The Strait of Hormuz isn't just a line on a map, it's the world's most sensitive energy artery. When the war hit, it didn't just stop tankers, it jammed the entire global circulatory system. Every insurance premium spike and every rerouted vessel is a tax on your existence. But a traffic jam isn't a permanent loss. If the jam clears, the oil flows. This is what the paper markets are betting on, that this is a temporary logistical nightmare. They are gambling on the idea that the shock of 12 million barrels is mostly just a massive, explosive delay. We need to distinguish between trapped oil and broken oil. Trapped oil is in a tanker waiting for a ceasefire or a safe passage. It's still there. It just isn't here yet. Broken oil is what happens when the fields themselves are hit, when the infrastructure that actually pulls the poison from the ground is shattered. The market prices these very differently. If you think the oil is just trapped, you keep your cool. If you realize it's broken, that the fields are dying and the capacity is gone for years, that's when you start seeing $200 oil. The question is, which one is Saudi Arabia actually facing? The attacks on Saudi facilities were the most significant physical shocks on record. The headlines were massive, but the actual long-term destruction of the wells themselves is harder to verify. If the wells are fine and only the processing is damaged, that's a repair story. If the fields are salted, that's an apocalypse. Repairs are already underway. We see the floodlights, the welding sparks, the frantic attempt to bring capacity back online. But remember, repairing a high-tech processing plant in a war zone isn't like fixing your neighbor's fence. It's slow, it's expensive, and every delay is another day the market holds its breath. The optimists in the futures market want to believe the restart is a light switch. Flip it, and 12 million barrels flood back into the pipes. But anyone who's ever worked a rig knows that isn't how it works. Once a field is shut in under stress, once the pressure drops and the systems gum up, you don't just restart it, you coax it back to life. Heavy crude systems are particularly stubborn. They are the sludge that powers the machine. If those systems stay down, the world doesn't just lose volume, it loses the specific types of oil needed for heavy industry and shipping. This is the chronic scar that the headlines are ignoring. Let's look at the map. We have nodes of damage across the entire region. Even if the ceasefire holds tomorrow, the logistics of normalization are a months-long marathon. This is the slow recovery reality that the current price isn't fully reflecting yet. It's gambling on a fast return that doesn't exist. Now let's talk about the math of violence. If we assume those barrels aren't coming back quickly, we have to find a way to match supply and demand. And since supply is fixed by war, demand has to do all the moving. This is where price becomes the weapon. The problem is, oil demand is inelastic. You don't stop driving to your low-wage job just because gas went up 50 cents. You just eat less. You don't ground the flight if the cargo has to move. Modern economies burn oil like we breathe oxygen. If you want us to stop, you have to make the price so high it hurts. Here's the back of the envelope math. To clear a hole of 11 million barrels through price alone, you need to drive demand down by 10%. With an elasticity of -0.1, you're looking at a price double what we started with. That's how you get to the high 170s or 200s. If the hole is 13 million barrels, now we're in the low 200s. It's simple, brutal economics. The market isn't there yet because it's still huffing the hopium of a quick fix. It hasn't realized that the only way to balance this book is through the financial destruction of the consumer. So why hasn't the hammer fallen? Because governments are panicking behind the scenes. They're dumping strategic reserves into the market to mask the scarcity. They're subsidizing the pain to prevent riots. They're buying time, hoping the repair crews work faster than the fire spreads. But reserves are finite. You can't run a world economy on salt dome savings forever. Eventually, you run out of buffers. And when the buffers are gone, the market has to face the physical reality of the barrel, not the paper hope of the politician. This is the paper versus physical gap. The paper markets, the traders in New York and London, are pricing in a best-case recovery. The physical markets, the people actually trying to find a barrel for a refinery, are already screaming. They see the tanker congestion. They see the empty berths. When that gap closes, it won't be a violent snap, because the physical reality of the barrel always wins. You can't fuel a truck with a futures contract. You need the crude, and if the crude isn't there, the price has to go where the pain is. Let's talk about who actually pays for this. It's not the traders, it's the workers. High energy prices are a regressive tax on the people who can least afford it. Every dollar added to oil is a dollar taken from a grocery bill or a rent payment. This isn't just a market story, it's a labor story. Oil is embedded in everything: the plastic in your phone, the fertilizer in your food, the fuel in the truck that delivered it. When oil goes to 200, everything you touch goes with it. The cost of living crisis isn't an accident. It's the inevitable result of a world that treats energy as a commodity instead of a human right. Right now, the market thinks it might get lucky. It thinks the ceasefire will hold. It thinks the repairs will be miraculous. It thinks 12 million barrels can just be found elsewhere. It's a collective hallucination fueled by the fear of what happens if they're wrong. But optimism doesn't build pipelines, and it doesn't fix shattered processing plants. If that optimism breaks, if the next report shows the recovery is stalling, that's when the $200 barrel becomes a reality. It's a cliff edge, and we're all leaning over it. The world economy was built on a single, fragile assumption that oil shocks are temporary. We assume the system is robust enough to bend without breaking. This crisis is testing that assumption in real time. We're finding out just how much violence the system can take before it snaps. If the damage is structural, then we aren't looking at an oil spike. We're looking at an economic event that reshapes the next decade. We're looking at a world where energy scarcity becomes the new baseline. And that's a world where the 8-hour workday starts to look like a luxury. So if 12 million barrels vanished and oil isn't at $200 yet, the answer is simple. The market is still a believer. It believes in the rescue. It believes in the trapped barrel. But when that belief fails, and it always fails eventually, the pain threshold will be found. And when markets finally stop believing in rescue, they start demanding sacrifice. Your sacrifice. Your wages, your comfort, your future, all sacrificed at the altar of the barrel. It's a high price to pay for a world that refused to look at the gears until they stopped turning. Like and subscribe to Clock In to the 40-hour work week. This is where we go deep because the surface is where they keep the deodorant. Try to get some sleep. The people in charge clearly won't. Mind the static, mind the spin, and mind who profits.